The next Joseki in handicap games is this one, which is almost the same. The only difference is that this stone is now high instead of low. The reason why sometimes this is better is because all of the rest of the stones are high, right? So again, it's about getting the stones to kind of work together in this kind of common theme. If the rest of your stones are high and oriented towards more of a influential style towards the middle game, then this is an option as well. The last one is probably the most important, or maybe the most common handicap Joseki in the corners, and that's actually to press against this stone straight away. The argument is that if you look at the board at the start of the game, black outnumbers the white stones 9-1. At the end of the game, obviously the stones are a lot closer in terms of the ratio of black and white, right? So from a logical perspective, you could argue that black has the most critical advantage at move 1. So therefore, black should be as aggressive as possible at the start of the game, and therefore attacks white directly. In fact, this move used to be considered as not very good, unless it was in a handicap game, but recently computers also like this move, even if it's not a handicap game. So it's one to consider even in the other games that you play evenly against other people in the group. The response to this is that white needs to play this move. If white decides to play elsewhere, then this move by black is very powerful, because in combination of this white stone is basically dead. If white tries to run out with this stone, then white has no eyes. White's on a road to nowhere, and there are still these black stones here that white's going to eventually run into if white tries to escape out this way. So that's why white would need to play this. And now black goes back to protect the corner. This corner isn't absolutely protected. There's still this invasion point on the 3-3, but white usually won't play it straight away. It's possible later in the game. So you shouldn't consider this corner absolutely safe for black. But the point of the Joseki isn't so much to secure the territory in the corner, it's to attack white in the most severe way possible. So notice that there's still this black stone here, so white still can't extend. In an ideal world, white wants to play here, right? Unfortunately, this isn't a white stone, it's a black stone. So white can really only extend as far as this.
And then black can take its base away at somewhere like L17.
Yep, L17 is one possibility. Either this one.
Yeah.
White would then need to escape. Probably play here, or maybe here.
Yeah.
But this one's a little faster. And then black can continue to harass. So really, black has got these stones.
Yeah, while building territory on both sides.
While building the territory. These stones facing these stones, and white has not achieved much at all. So I would recommend that you favour this particular Joseki in the handicap games over this one. It's not to say that this one's bad. After all, it is a Joseki. It's played in even games all the time. So you shouldn't not play this move, but it's useful to know these alternatives if you want to be a bit more aggressive.
Can you just run? Can you just quickly run over the Joseki again? I'm not sure. Did everyone get that? Did everyone follow what we were talking about there? Put your hand up if you don't, because there's no point in us rambling on if you're not following.
I got it.
You got it. So you understand what the three different Josekis are. This one, which is we call a pincer, which results in this kind of sequence. And you've seen this sequence before on non-handicap Go. It's a standard sequence. It's one of the first Josekis we teach. There's the extension to make a base on the right hand side, this one. And again, you should have seen this many times in your non-handicap games, and we would expect if the black stone wasn't there on K16 that white could extend to about L17 now. But that's a bit uncomfortable for white now, because black will just drop at K17 and clamp white in, maybe. And what was the other one?
Yeah, this one or this one.
Yeah.
Either way, white's going to be quite squished.
Yeah. And
this one is the alternative, just to play high. The Joseki, apart from this move, plays out the same, but it's just coordinated nicely with the other stones, considering that they're also high stones.
And these principles are all good. They're all true, even if you're not playing a handicap game, because all of those Josekis are valid in a normal even game.
And the aggressive choice, which you can also use in your even games, is to attack the white stone directly with this one. White needs to play here. This is a critical move. Otherwise, this stone ends up in trouble. Then black can play this one. This one is also possible. And then in non-handicap games, white will usually extend as far as this.
Yeah.
This is a black stone, so white can only extend as far as here. And then either this one directly or play this one first. And then this one. So this is the aggressive choice, but in my mind, if I'm playing a 9-stone handicap game, this is the one that I would choose personally. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't like you. I wouldn't want to be playing white against that.
No, it's
okay.
Good, isn't it?
Yeah, white's pretty good. So what? Yeah, go on. What happened in the game?
Yeah, sure. So in the game, a very similar thing kind of happened. So the move order is a little bit flipped around a little bit, but a very similar move sequence ends up happening, because the only difference realistically in this Joseki is that white hasn't played this move. But it's played here instead. So you could change the move order, actually. So it's the same as white. It's the same as black playing here, white playing this one, and then black playing here. Yeah. This move is actually a nice move because it gets rid of the tiger's mouth that white would be able to make if this stone were a white stone. Right? So actually that's a useful analysis technique. It's a little advanced. I don't really use it myself, but a lot of strong players will do. To evaluate whether a stone is in the right place, they will flip over the move orders and kind of say, well, based on this move happening first, does this move make sense? And if it doesn't, then it probably isn't a good move to begin with. So I like black here. I think that black is doing absolutely fine. Okay, thoughts on the position so far? What do you guys think about what's happening?
Is that a stunned silence?
I think Robin's going to try and sneak around and swallow those two stones at K16 and L or M17.
That's right, Ben. That's exactly my plan.
It's going to try and swallow those two.
I'm going to try and swallow them in a large scale, not by close contact fighting, but what my Spanish friend Jay calls the anaconda technique, where you get the little black rabbit and you slowly wrap your coils around it and squeeze the life out of it.
Attacking
how graphic
places so that black defends,
right?
While slowly wrapping around it.
Yeah, that's good that you noticed the presence of these two black stones, because like in our, was it the last session or the session before? I forget. We were talking about the groups and the theory of groups as we move from the opening into the middle game, and how the groups should be the first consideration that you have in the middle game. So you're quite right to notice that there's this nice white wall here, and in exchange for that wall, black got this nice bit of pseudo territory, probably territory in the top right corner. But to compensate, white has these stones that don't really have a base, and white's aim is to attack these stones. So that's what white got in the compensation for the territory.
Okay.
In response to this one, black plays here. What can you tell me about the direction? So one of the themes that I wanted to cover in these game reviews is the direction of play. What we mean by the direction of play is orientating your stones in such a way that they help out your existing stones and don't hurt your existing stones. That's broadly what we mean by direction of play. What can you tell me about black's direction of play here? Do you like it or do you not like it? Specifically, when black plays this move and white responds here.
It's encouraging that envelopment. Because attacking from that side, you're encouraging white to get stronger on the side where your two black stones are weaker.
Absolutely, yeah.
If that makes sense.
No, that's spot on, Ben.
That's completely right. Yeah, so my preference here would be to play from this direction. Because this is still a Joseki. We've seen this before, the one-space pincer. But actually, from the direction, you're helping out your weakest stones. And this would carry on like we've seen before. We should know this Joseki. Okay. So I think that black maybe realized that this was turning out to be a little bit uncomfortable for these two stones. So black ended up protecting these two stones by playing here. In terms of the Joseki that we saw in the other corner, we know that the Joseki should continue when black plays this one to protect the corner. So you can kind of, I think we've mentioned the term miai before, which means that if you don't take one place, I'll take it. And if you don't take the other place, I'll take that one instead. So it's a tit-for-tat kind of thing. So you can view this point and this point as a kind of miai. Whichever one black takes, white's going to take the other one. Okay. Which means that when black protects the two stones, white can press in this direction. Now, the following sequence is going to be a little bit more complicated, but I'm hoping that the kind of end result you'll be able to see visually, pictorially, the difference in the choice of the Joseki here. So when white presses here, black has to protect the corner, right? Because that's where his two stones are. He can't let those disappear. So black plays underneath. And then white aims to make this wall as strong as possible, because white still wants to attack this whole black group. White's reasoning is the bigger that I can make this wall, the stronger the attack against the black stones at the top. So black plays here. This move is Sente because of this cutting point. So black protects. And then white plays here. Okay. Going back to this one, my preference would still be for black to continue the Joseki as normal and play this one. Because the reasoning is I would rather for white to attack these two than attack the larger black group as a whole, right? Because if these two stones don't make it, then your losses are kind of limited in a way. So if white plays this stone, like we saw in the variation down here, black actually has a couple of different options here. Black can still play this one and try to live on the side, or black can try and play this one. And black's argument is, well, okay, yeah, my stones are separated, but your stones are also separated here. So this is a fight. Visually, do you like this one better, or do you like this one better?
Kind of like the first one better.
Yeah. Seems like black isn't as surrounded.
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
Route.
I'm glad Simon didn't do that. That's.
So there's
Otherwise, I'm going to reduce the handicap down to 5.
That would be my preference. Actually, the logical steps to make these moves isn't about so much calculating variations or looking for, exotic moves or thinking really far ahead. It's more about evaluating, okay, which are my weakest groups? What direction do I need to play in to support those? And how do I make moves that aren't damaging my own positions? So I think that if you make that kind of decision-making process in each of your moves, in every one of your games, especially in the middle game, or when there are white stones nearby, or walls that look kind of scary, then if you go through that decision-making process, then I can see that you will no longer be playing at the current level, you'll be playing at a higher level. Yeah. Okay. So, turn my page of notes here. This move, just as a side note, is a little bit away from the action, I would say. It's a little bit like, Simon was watching the World Cup final and then all of a sudden changed the channel, right? The action should be from over here as opposed to over here. I get the reasoning behind the move, so I can't say that the move is incorrect because Simon is looking to attack these white stones as a whole. But the thing is, if the Prime Minister were to have a meeting with the Cabinet, and the Cabinet were to say, Mr. Prime Minister, who's attacking who in this situation? Are the black stones working together to attack the white group? Or are the white stones working together to capture the black group? I think in this situation, it's white attacking black.
And the vital point is clearly, to my eye, H15. It's the vital point for both sides.
Yeah. So I think that black should black should play this one. Yeah. Just to try and get out into the center of the board. Also, this is Sante for black because there's a cutting point here as white. So if black were to cut here, then these white stones are separated and they're dying. So black can quite easily manage this group if black tries to get out into the center, in my mind. Yeah. I also think that this move is possible to get out into the center a bit more kind of forcefully or directly. I think this is also fine. I don't think that the sequence quite works for white because black can travel in this direction. But yeah, so there are other options, but I won't go into those in too much detail. But the relevant point is that this stone is kind of, again, from the wrong direction because it's encouraging white to kind of increase the attack against these 3 stones.
What did white play next, out of interest? There.
Yeah, white played this one.
That was a bit crap, wasn't
it? Well, I would say that maybe it wouldn't have been the AI's first choice.
No.
But,
very diplomatic.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ashley.
Yeah, fine. But again, I get the point. It's just increasing the attack against.
Yeah, I didn't want black to start pushing out there. Actually, is what I can see what I was trying to do then, and I thought I was thick enough on the left hand side to take the pressure. Yeah, that I didn't like the idea of black pushing out. Oh,
so you mean if black plays like this one?
Yeah, attaches or actually,
or first.
Yeah, or even at L15 and say which side do you like?
Oh, okay, yeah, like this.
Yeah.
Okay.
And because it can keep pushing and either split through at N15 or come out at M13.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Got you.
yeah. So that's what I was thinking about. Okay.
Okay. So. This is kind of the last little bit on this game, then we'll switch to the next one. So this move is a good move to attempt to get out into the center. It's a little complicated in terms of the variations, but it's a good try. But when white plays Hane, black needs to follow up by playing this one. Again, it kind of feels like Simon's gone ahead and changed the channel a little bit, because this stone isn't really too relevant in terms of what's happening over here. If I'm playing white, I would probably be, having a slice of cake at the moment, because I'd be quite happy at the fact that I could play this one. Immediately, I would play this one, and without thinking, I would just place the stone down on this point, because it's so important in terms of what's happening at the top. Not only as black do I want to connect this stone to these and to get out into the center, but also I don't want this stone to be Atari'd, because if white plays Atari, like what happened in the game, then white can eventually connect back. Okay? So now black has got two problems. Black has got this group, and black has got this group, and white's wall is a hell of a lot stronger than what it was 5 moves ago. Right? So when I saw this move, I thought to myself, oh, that's a cool move. That might work. And then when I saw this move, I was like, oh no. Oh dear. Yeah. But hopefully you see that like white's aim is to play Atari and then connect back, right? Black's aim is to play this one to prevent that from happening, because obviously white can't play here because there's all sorts of stories, there's all sorts of tactics and nets and ladders going on, right? I guess we can just have a quick show and tell about that. So if white, say, I don't know, protects this one, this is a net, and this stone is dead, right? Yeah. So black is now a lot better than what black was before.
Black's alive with two. Black's got an eye there and can make another eye on the top. Black's alive, and white's split in two.
Yeah. If white pushes out, from this way, black has an Atari here, black has a peep here, that's also simultaneously an Atari here against this stone. If white carries on down, then black can capture these two stones. If white wants to, I don't know, what else is there? Yeah. So yeah, this move is just really important for black because it stops the stories. Black knows that black can leverage the kind of weaknesses in white's shape around here. Right, there's a lot of cutting points. There's a lot of shape points that black can try and take advantage of. The only other thing that I would say is that white ended up killing this black group by playing this invasion point. But this was only possible because white had all of this kind of strength on the outside. At any point before this, black could have limited a lot of the damage. And there's a couple of different ways that black could have done that. I don't know if you have noticed this, but this move is Sente because black's aim is to connect up. Yeah?
Yeah.
So white plays here. This move is also Sente as black because black wants to connect up by playing here. So white responds. And now, black could even play this one as black centre, because white has to play here to prevent black from linking up. So now the question is, well, what's the situation with black's group? And to me, black's group, if it isn't alive, then it's really close. Okay, black has kind of given up a little bit of the corner by allowing white to play these two. But if you're at all in doubt of your groups, at this stage, I don't particularly mind if you make 100% sure that your groups are safe and then go on to play the rest of the game. I'd prefer for this sequence to happen than for this invasion to destroy the whole top side. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I mean, just listening to you talking there, it's interesting watching a game again and getting your take on it, Ashley. But again, when we first started learning Go together, the one thing that I kept saying to you over and over again, and it will never change, is the fundamental high-level strategy of Go is to keep your stones connected and to keep your opponent's stones separated. That's it. If there is one thing that you must, absolutely get in your heads about playing Go, is when your stones are separated, they're weak because they have to live locally. When your stones are connected, they're strong because even though they may not have eyes, they've got lots of liberties because they're connected, and so they can fight. And actually, if you can just act that strategy out in every game, how do I keep my stones connected and how do I cut my opponent's stones apart, then you're going to go up to 2 ranks.
Yeah. In fact, there was I can't remember which book it was in, and I can't remember who said it either. I'll have to look it up. But there was one very famous Go player who wrote a very famous book, and he said something along the lines of, if you can split your opponent into 5 groups or more, you've automatically won the game. And he didn't care about how much or how little territory either player has, because if you chop the other player into smaller pieces, then you're going to naturally accumulate more territory just because it takes a whole lot more stones to create 5 individual groups than it does to create one group elsewhere on the board. So I always think that actually that's the difference between high-level play in Europe and the States versus, Japan, Korea, and China. It's that we are quite possessive. We like to make territory on the board at every opportunity, and in the kind of philosophies on how Go is played in Korea, China, and Japan, it's, well, I don't care about territory, but I know that I'm going to accumulate it eventually because my moves are, good moves, they're correct moves. I'm playing according to how the game is played. So they don't have like a territorial bias. I think that's what I'm trying to say. At this rate, we're not going to cover 4 games, so I might cover the next one and then leave the other 2 for the next session. How does that sound? Okay.
You're cool. It depends. I mean, whatever. We're here at your guys' disposal, really. So you guys call it. What's the next one? Ben or Chris? Or they're all...
I was probably going to have a look at Chris's game.
Okay, go.
Excellent.
Okay. So, yeah, just a quick note about, again, the Joseki. Either it's this one, which looks very nice, attacking white, getting territory, getting influence at the same time. Or it's this one. Or it's this one. I can't say that this move is bad because you are getting territory and you are surrounding white to a certain extent. It's just that the other ones are a little better. Whether they're a half a point better or 2 points better doesn't necessarily matter. They're slightly better. Cool. This move, well, I'm not going to say it's beyond my understanding, but I'd like to get Robin's take on it, I think. Yeah.
I'm just chancing it. I'm just going. I'm a bit stronger than Chris. I'll just try and bully him a little bit, make him intimidate him.
Right. Cool.
See, it works as well.
If I was black, I would just play here.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would be pretty much automatic, because the reasoning is that, white wants to obviously connect these two stones, right? So white really has to try this one. But then, I mean, is that white's plan? I mean, that just looks horrible, really.
In my defence, Ashley, I just thought, okay, if Chris blocks on the left-hand side, I'm going to just jump out and approach the right-hand side, give up the F17 stone as light, and come out there. I'm going to turn the two stones into points into Miai.
Right. Yeah. And to a certain extent, you have to play quite creatively at the start, because, like I said before, ultimately you're outnumbered by 900% on the board right now. So something needs to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I've just got to also, as when you're playing high handicap games, you've got to move fast and you've got to be flexible. You've got to try stuff out and see how your opponent responds. It's kind of asking a series of questions. Yep. What do you think about that? What about that? Do you like that? Do you not like that? What are you going to do? It's that kind of opening. Your first dozen stones are trying to get the measure of your opponent. So what did Chris do there? That's quite a nice move. So that's a nice move.
That's fine. I like that. I don't mind that at all. I still prefer this one just because it's a bit more direct, kind of asking white the question, do you want these stones to be separated? But I like this one too. This move also I like particularly because, again, it's asking white this question: what do you think about these two stones? Do you want to connect them or not? And if you don't want to connect them, then there's also a black stone here, right? So now white's kind of limited in the options. I like that move a lot. So white decides to crawl to connect the stones.
Yeah, I was very ashamed of grovelling on the second line.
Yeah, so the second line is the line of defeat.
It's the line of shame, as I like to call it.
The line of shame.
Grovelling on the line of shame is what I ended up doing here. It wasn't very nice.
Yeah, I also particularly like this move. This move is actually a Tetsuji. It's called a clamp because of the presence of this stone. The reasoning is that it makes Miai out of these 2 points. If white plays this one, then you connect on top. If white plays this one, then you play here, and these two stones are floating because you have connected all of your stones together with the tiger's mouth. Yeah.
Yeah, very nice. I'm glad he didn't do that.
Yeah, so that was that was good.
What did I do?
What did you do?
No, that was the play move.
You played the Tetsuji, and I went inside.
Yep.
And then you played outside. Beautiful. So now I've got one eye on the top side. One eye.
Yeah. So this is all very nice. This move is good too. Trying to surround the corner whilst attacking the white group. So that's good. Yeah. So interestingly, this move is trying to more or less do the same thing as what was happening over here. The difference is that this one doesn't quite work and that one did. The reasoning is that if white plays this one and you wedge in, like what happened in the game, now it's both players that are split into two, because you don't have the tiger's mouth anymore to connect all of your stones together. So it would be my preference if you were to just play this one and carry the original strategy.
Okay.
Yeah, surround points, harass white at the same time.
Yeah, because I have to stop that connection. If black plays at N15, as you just suggested, Ashley,
Mm-hmm.
Just go back to where you were. Can you go back to that previous variation?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you just come.
One.
Yeah. No. If you just come up. Yeah. If you come up at N15 and protect the points as you just did. N15. I think. Yeah. Now N15.
Oh, right. N15 here. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So now white has to connect. Can you see white? Because if white doesn't connect, black pushes through at M15 and then cuts at L16. There.
Yeah.
Okay. So that sequence for black means that black gets that extra thickness in Sente.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what I'm looking at. So when for Chris to play that extra move there would have been great.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So now.
Okay. So now we reach this point in the game. This was the move black played at Q14, this one here, which I think, again, makes sense because it's surrounding points and you want to harass these 3 stones. So that's good. There was a better move. Can anybody tell me what it is?
Say it one more time.
Yeah, so this is the move that was played, but there's a better move for black. Can anybody have a guess at which move I'm thinking of?
O15? No, maybe not.
I think this move does also make sense because you're thinking of this kind of thing.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at.
Yeah, I think that is totally reasonable, but there's an even better choice.
M18.
I'll give you a clue. Yeah, right, I'll give you a clue. Yeah, Robin got it. I've highlighted these stones. There's a problem with these stones. If black plays here, then I think these are dead.
They don't have 2 eyes, do they?
Nope. So if white plays this one, black has to play here. Otherwise, white gets the other eye. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Whoops. Yeah, black plays here. If white plays this one to try and make as much space as possible, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I think before Christmas we did a session on life and death on the second line. 7 is depends on who plays first, right? So black gets to play first, Hane, and then this is dead. Yep.
It's all so simple, Ashley.
Yeah, it's a sobering thought, isn't it? Yeah. Okay.
Another reason not to grovel.
Good reason.
It's very difficult.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's difficult to make life on the second line. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you need 8 points in a row to be able to live.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, surely the lesson is not to not grovel, but if you're going to start groveling, then make sure you keep doing it for long.
Stay on your knees. Yeah, but it's yeah. Nice point, Andy.
Which means actually that in this shape, white's best chance was probably playing this one. Or this one, actually. Yeah, this one better. Yeah. And saying, well, you get to play this one, but at least my group is now alive. This is enough space now. Interesting. Okay. I had one more point to make on this particular game. And we go to this point. Yep. Okay. So, broadly, my themes were direction of play, which we've talked quite a bit about. The safety of the groups, which again we've talked quite a bit about. And just in general, the shapes that you make in the game. So by shapes, we mean all of the different shapes that come up on the board. In fact, it might be useful to let's see here. To just show them, actually, might be useful. So I'll draw a couple of shapes here. 1, 2, no, let's do that one. 3, and 4, 5, 6, and 7. Shall I do some lines to make it fancy? There we go. So, shapes on the bottom of the board are strong shapes. They are also heavier. I'll get to heavy in a second. And they are also slower. So this shape is called the iron pillar. Not entirely sure why, probably because the stones are like a stick. These are solidly connected. If they die as one group. That is why they are heavier than these shapes at the top. Because you have an opportunity to say, if this stone is in trouble, I can let it go. I can let it die, and I can save this stone. These down here, in general, if they die as one, and they die all together. That's why they're heavier. That's why these are lighter. So, iron pillar. You've then got the kosumi, or the diagonal connection. These are not quite solidly connected, but they are connected, because if white plays here, then you connect here. And if white plays here, you connect here, right? Again, in general, if they die, they usually die as one shape, so they are still quite heavy. And they're also slow. What do we mean by slow and fast? Well, we just mean the distance that you can cover on the board with 2 stones. Yeah, this is 1, this is 3. This is the other strong shape, it's the jump. In general, this can be cut, but it's usually not a good idea to do so unless white is extremely strong at both sides. I'll give you an example of how white can cut the shape. And cut. Right? But the thing is, black gets so many forcing moves that usually it's not a good idea for white to do so. So we can regard this as another strong shape. It's a little faster, it's a little lighter, but it's still strong. These at the top of the board are the so-called weaker shapes. Now when I say weak shapes, it's not so much that you can't play them, because after all of these have names in Japanese, and you know, if they didn't have names, maybe they'd be bad, but they're not bad at all. But you do need to be slightly careful of them, especially when there are opponent stones nearby, and especially in the middle game. We have the knight's move. This is a little bit more unsafe because white can cut directly like this. This is the two-point jump space. Again, white can cut like this. Whoops, like this. This is the large knight's move, or the old gamer. White can just cut in lots of different ways. This is an example. And this is probably the weakest shape. Is the elephant's eye, or the large knight's move, the large diagonal move. The cutting point for this is just to simply play in the center. Even though those are weaker, they're faster and they're lighter. So for example, if you have an attack against a group, you can try to run away with the stone and let the stone die. Yeah, so there's different advantages, different disadvantages, depending on how the stone is played, where the stone is played, what else is happening in the game, where the opponent's stones are, and so on and so on. So those shapes will crop up all of the time, so it's useful to kind of classify them into weak and strong and to know kind of where they're useful and why. Alright, so we come to this point in the game. Be a little bit careful when you try and pull stones out, because Robin kind of plays this move because he wants to try and swallow these two. And you're quite right in saying, well, no, I think I'm okay here. I can try and pull them out. Robin Harnes again saying, well, maybe, but I'm going to try anyway. The move to play here as black is to cut here, because after white connects, you can ladder this stone. Yeah. Or rather, this way.
But I'm dependent on Chris's incompetence. I'm dependent on Chris's incompetence.
So broadly speaking, you're still okay-ish as black here. But when you played this one instead, now we start to run into some issues regarding shapes, regarding cutting points, regarding shortage of liberty. So what happened now? Yeah, Robin protected. And you played this one. So it's good that you noticed that if you play here, then Robin has got this kind of thing happening. Wedge, this one, this one.
Hey, Ashley.
Yeah.
You know, you're talking about shapes a minute ago.
Yeah.
Is that not dependent, or is it not an issue with or when you play those shapes? You know, for example, so if you've got a knight's move, what about if there's white stones already there, and then the knight's move? Is that like a whole new kettle of fish?
Yeah. All of those shapes are going to be influenced by what the stories are around them. So in certain circumstances, even though you want to attack by playing a knight's move because it's more aggressive, you might not be able to because it's more easily able to be cut. So it might be that a one-space jump is better. It might be that playing the Kosumi is better. It entirely depends on kind of what the stories are on the outsides of the stones. Broadly, that's based on just playing lots of games. It's based on studying, different Go problems, and it's kind of based on evaluating sort of how safe you feel in terms of the juxtapositions, right, of yours and your opponent's stones. So yeah, the optimum spaces to play will totally change depending on the stories of each of the opponent's stones on the outside. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, man.
Yeah. So.
Is this the game again? This was the game, wasn't it? Yeah.
When we reach this point of the game, then we start to run into some problems because we've got cutting points. These three stones only have 2 liberties. This stone only has 2 liberties here and here. So we're getting into problems. White can cut and play here and cut here and follow it down, and these stones end up dying at the top. The trouble is, it's really hard to say anything really about this situation apart from the fact that the reason why this was difficult was because you tried to pull these 2 stones out without kind of playing in good enough shape to be able to sustain them at the top of the board. That kind of thing is really hard to teach because it's like, well, how is it possible that I can see 15 moves ahead when that group actually ends up dying, But the thing is, if you at least can see that that there's an Atari, and then there's an Atari, and then there's an Atari, right? Then at least if you see that much, then you can probably see that that's relatively okay for you. I
think my take on this sequence of the game actually was that I was just winging it. I was in real trouble here,
right?
And I was just trying to mix it up and make it as complicated as I could to just to kind of force Chris to make a mistake. It was not very elegant. I'm not very proud of it, but that's what I was doing.
Yeah.
But actually, I thought Chris's play was very good in this corner. I thought he was really on it. But I just kind of bullied my way through. And
Yeah.
there were lots of opportunities when he could have hurt me.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to mention this Joseki in the bottom right as well.
Ooh,
Just before we finish. Yes. So this is another direction of play thing. After all of that insane stuff happened at the top corner, we get to this stone. This was the move in the game. I think this is the correct direction, because these stones are actually quite weak. They're weak because these stones are dead. So actually, this wall that white has looks is a lot stronger than what it actually looks. You can actually pretend that. I wonder if I can do this. You can really pretend that none of these black stones exist anymore. So the actual state of the game is like this, right?
Yep.
So if you play from this direction, then again we're kind of asking for it in terms of these stones start to look a little suspicious. Yeah. So I think that the direction of play here was correct, because you're wanting to help out the weaker side, and these stones are relatively weak. Now they're doing a lot better because this stone is kind of giving them that base that's necessary. Yeah. When white double approaches, I guess that maybe you haven't seen this Joseki before. Lots of the double approach Josekis are quite horrible.
I like
and
them.
Quite complicated.
I like them.
Yeah, you try and just confuse me all the time, Robin. That's the thing with these. That's why I don't like them. If white double approaches like this, the move that white wants to play is here, because white's argument is, if I seal black in the corner, I'm fine with black getting these 9 points if I can create a nice big wall in order to radiate influence in this direction.
That's correct.
So that's white's argument. White's argument is I get more into the center than black gets in the corner. So when you play this one, this is actually not the best, because you want to disrupt white's plan by playing here.
Which again supports the fundamental strategy: split your opponent apart while keeping your stones connected.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Not only is this the best move, but you're also harassing this white stone a lot more than what would happen in the original Joseki, because you have these 2 stones, you have these as well. So just visually, this stone is looking quite sad. In the actual game, white kind of gets what white wanted, which was this nice big wall. But now you know what to do when white double approaches. When Robin does this in the future, then you'll know to play this one. The only other one to consider is leaning on one of them, so either this one or this one. But I guess we'll cover those Joseki in the future.
I think we'll do that in the future, but I think the theory says that you attach to the stronger stone. Don't attach to the weaker stone, because you'll make it stronger. So in that case, the stronger stone I think is 04, because it's less surrounded, so you would attach to the stronger stone and form that shape.
Yeah, and it would continue something like this.
And then so the R6 stone then becomes very weak. That would be
Yeah.
that would be the standard Joseki.
Yeah. All right. I've waffled for nearly an hour, and I've only covered 2 games, so I'm going to leave the other 2 for next time. Broadly, they have similar themes, but just different positions, different games. So I hope that was useful.
I'm just going to check in with you guys. I mean, I found that really fascinating.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
Oh, and should we just go for a change of pace and keep the next 2 games for next time? Because I think you've got Ben and Ed as well, haven't you?
Yeah, I've got a game from Ben and a game from Ed.
Unless you guys particularly want to have a look at those.
No, I'm fine.
I'm happy to save them.
Happy to save them. Okay, all right. Well, you've been Okay, I'm going to do a couple of. Let's leave it at that. I'm going to do a couple of quick things.